Oh, that'll make your bowl run. Hey, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick. This is a channel called Watchlist Roulette, a channel dedicated to cinema and the discussion of cinema. Today, the final film of February that I'm doing. Again, if you're new here, this is a series where I randomize my letterboxd watch list. Each month, there is a new slate of films picked at random for me by a beautiful little thing called an algorithm. And we end up here talking about whatever film I end up getting, which I do not pick. Some of them I want to see, some of them I don't really care for, some of them I'm dying to see. You never know what you're going to get when you show up to the casino, and today we've got Jodorowsky's Dune, a documentary on what would have happened if Alejandro Jodorowsky got his hands on adapting Frank Herbert's epic sci-fi novel, Dune. We are like on the Christmas Eve doorstep of Dune Part 2 by Denis Villeneuve. I'm pretty stoked about that. I'm gonna have a video talking about it here on this channel. If you don't want to miss that, you can subscribe. That's probably gonna be really good. All I've been hearing are great things, and I mean, you knew that, but Denny, a golden boy right there. Look at him, beautiful. It's kind of great timing that I get to do this documentary when we're rolling up to the point of Dune Part 2 coming out. This is a cool little coincidence. So off the top of my head, this was directed by Frank Pavich. It's from 2013. We did not have Denny coming through with his adaptation yet. We weren't quite there. So based off of memory, here's how it goes. Alejandro Jodorowsky was starting to pick up steam as a kind of cult midnight movie filmmaker, El Topo. I think at this point he had a few films under his belt. He was approached, some people who had confidence in him pretty much, I don't know if blank check would be the right term, but he was given a lot of freedom in picking what his next project would be. And right off the bat, for whatever reason, he just said, Dune, I want to do Dune. And if you've ever seen Alejandro Jodorowsky talk in like any interview, he's very like energetic and aggressive and fucking like just really punchy with everything he says and does. He's just like full of life. And he's like, Dune, I want to do Dune. And so they're able to get the rights pretty easily. Not that expensive to get the rights, because at that time, which was the 70s, the Hollywood studios, maybe even the publishing companies, didn't really have a whole lot of hope that Dune could properly be adapted into a film. It's a gigantic book, very ambitious, tons of world building and so much detail, and it would take so much time, and it would take so much money, and it would be such a long film, and it would be, you know, it's just kind of one of those things where maybe if you could make it work, it'd be a brilliant idea to adapt it into a film at that point in time. But I think nobody wanted to touch it with a 10-foot pole because it was incredibly difficult to do. He had the idea that he really wanted to do Dune. To be completely honest, off of the hop, it doesn't really sound like he knows a whole lot about Dune. He just kind of blindly was like, yeah, that's what I want to fucking do. Do I know anything about Dune? Not really, but it just seems like a very big, very ambitious thing that I can transform into something that'll open young people's minds, you know? Things that would be reminiscent of an LSD trip. Very colorful visuals, very surreal concepts he would work with. This film is seeing him take this very celebrated novel and trying to turn it into his own. He's not trying to make an authentic adaptation. He's not trying to go by the book. I think there's even a part in the film where he talks about how, I mean, first of all, he said he was raping Frank Herbert. He did say that many times. Like his idea of adapting something was taking something and making it completely your own, almost different from the original. If you were a big Dune fan back in the day when he was talking about doing this, you probably would have hated the film that he made, because he really took everything about it and tried to turn it topsy-turvy, upside down, and messed with big elements in the story and the characters. The visual style, I mean, would have been completely his own, and not something you would have seen in a big Hollywood blockbuster at that time. Along the way, he starts trying to recruit talent. I believe he tries to recruit the main visual effects from 2001: A Space Odyssey, Doug Trumbull. He didn't have a whole lot of luck with him. He starts finding different artists from comic books, graphic novels. He finds a Swiss artist by the name of H.R. Giger who creates incredible art that would look very familiar to you and me now. But at the time, maybe he didn't have as big a name. Maybe he did, I don't know. And the film is just him creating this team of artists to work together, creating the concept art, creating his own little deviations in the story in terms of writing. effects, how they're going to build this world, this universe. And the detail, the designs are insane. Again, ships of phantasmagorical, kaleidoscope, rainbow-stricken colors. A base or a castle that has a mouth for a door. Designs for the characters like the Baron Harkonnen, Duke Leto of Atreides, Paul Atreides, all these designs and what they would have looked like, and how different they would be from the Dune that maybe you and I know at this point. I've never read Dune. I've got it on my shelf. It stares at me all the time, and one day I'm going to get to it, but based on the Dune that you and I know from Denis Villeneuve's films, it would have been the complete opposite of that, cranked to 11 on speed. And so many people that he tries to get to work on this film. Again, if you haven't seen this documentary yet, go check it out if you want to see just one of those gigantic films that probably would have been a disaster to make, that fell through. And it's kind of like the what if this happened? What if this came before Star Wars? Because again, they were working on this before Star Wars was a thing, before a lot of big sci-fi epics came out. 2001: A Space Odyssey was the big one at that time, which was ahead of its time then. It's still incredible now. But around that time, he was really going to do something totally different that he wanted to change the game with. And it's kind of crazy, because what if this became the cultural phenomenon that Star Wars would have been? Questions like that. It's just kind of crazy to think about that whole what if. In a parallel universe, does this film exist? Did he get the green light? Again, in the film, we learned that that didn't happen. Like, I'm inspired by Jodorowsky's ambition. I am. I might not agree with everything he does or everything he says, but he is a guy with a wild imagination, and he lives inside that imagination. He's a dreamer. Of course, you would be inspired by that, but there's also like a really naive sense of arrogance that he carries with him, where he's just like, we're gonna get the best artists in every department to make this happen. I'm looking for my spiritual warriors. And he's going like, he's assembling like an Avengers of the be-all end-all artists of that time. He wanted Pink Floyd to do the music, to do the score. They didn't even really give a shit. They didn't seem like they really cared, but he was like insistent. He's like, no, it has to be them. He wanted Mick Jagger in it, which was probably an unconventional casting choice at the time, even though Mick Jagger has done acting. He wanted Salvador Dali to play the Emperor. And not just that, Salvador Dali liked Jodorowsky and his art and agreed, but he wanted to be the highest paid actor ever. And they had to find a way to give him what he wanted through loopholes. And all the while, Jodorowsky's saying, yeah, do it, give them what they want. And he's like throwing money all over the place in a film that is gonna be a budget disaster, a production disaster, with so many personalities that are gonna conflict. And he's just like, no, fuck it, just do it. We're gonna make it happen. And it's like a kid in a candy store, like just trying to get everything they want. Like, just the way he operates, he's just driven by this vision he has, but it's just so impossible feeling. All the while he's explaining it to you. You almost don't even need them to explain why it didn't work in the end, because you kind of know. This thing just sounds so ridiculous. The wheels just have to fall off. He wanted Orson Welles to play the Baron Harkonnen. It's not that bad of an idea, to be honest. And the whole reason he wanted Orson Welles at that time was because he was fucking fat. That's it. Like, it was a familiar face, an iconic filmmaker, an actor, and that's it. And that's all his inspiration behind Orson Welles as the Baron Harkonnen. I don't even know if they talked about money or like what you're gonna get paid, what you're gonna do. He just says to him, like, listen, they met at a restaurant, and he's like, you like eating? You like this restaurant? I'm gonna hire the chef, and you're gonna eat this food every day. Orson Welles, like, I don't even really think he cared about what he was getting paid. I think he was just like, yeah, I'll be there, sure. Count me in. I don't know. Anytime we talk about like big Orson Welles, I just think of that big guy from Monty Python's The Meaning of Life. That big guy in the restaurant. That's all I could picture when I was seeing Jodorowsky explain that they were just gonna pay Orson Welles some food. How are they doing today, sir? Better get a bucket. Haunting stuff. By the end of it, Hollywood and all the major studios just don't trust Jodorowsky and his vision. They think the designs of everything looked incredible. It was an amazing concept, but at the whole, I think it's his personality and his surreal avant-garde style that Hollywood was afraid to invest in. It pretty much just shut the door on everything they were working on, crushed the whole production. But what's amazing about Jodorowsky's Dune is that years later, amidst the disappointment of everything falling apart, throughout the years that would follow, a lot of the artwork and a lot of the ideas from Jodorowsky's Dune would end up transforming and being used in other things. H.R. Giger, who was the visual artist on the film, the film that never happened, ended up designing the xenomorph from Alien and ended up doing the visual effects for that. A lot of guys that were involved in Jodorowsky's Dune ended up finding success elsewhere down the line in things that are iconic now. A lot of the ideas, story-wise and character-wise, Jodorowsky ended up repurposing and using for some graphic novels. Ended up using them in different ways. A lot of the visuals, a lot of the designs, and it's cool to see that in the film, because I'm not saying I'm an authority on this type of thing, but as somebody who creates stuff myself, whether it comes to painting, or writing songs, or writing in general, or storytelling ideas and whatnot. There are always a lot of really good ideas that you might even fall in love with, that you really want to make work in something, in the context of something, but the piece in the puzzle just doesn't fit. And then you often feel really bad because you're abandoning this great idea you love, and it kind of feels like it's being wasted and that it's going to die. But somewhere down the line, in another creation or through another medium, you find a way to use those ideas, kind of recycle them and rebirth them, and then they work, and the pieces fall into place. And it's cool to see a film where many artists having a falling out with something that looked amazing that just never happened. It was cool to see their ideas from that potential production find life elsewhere in different creations. So I thought it was really cool to see a film about that. I think Jodorowsky's Dune is a really great documentary if you want to watch a film about the artist versus the industry. If you're interested in films about creators, filmmakers, writers having a tug of war in terms of creative control, and the difference between creating something amazing on paper and art, how that doesn't always translate to business and the conflict there. If you want to see a film about that, I think it's a really, really great film in regards to that concept. I would highly recommend it if you were into something like that, and I am too, so fuck yeah. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed learning more about Alejandro Jodorowsky's wicked personality. Pretty solid documentary, one I would probably watch again. And now we are at the end of February. That means we've got a new slate of films to randomize and pick for March. So there's going to be a separate video, like right after this one, that I'm going to upload on the channel, going over my lottery picks for the month of March and the 4 films we will be talking about, one a week on a weekly basis. Yeah, I'm excited to see what we get, because there's 1,200 films on the list, man. It could be fucking anything. So I'm looking forward to what we end up pulling out of the hat. Other than that, thank you again for coming back to the channel. If you are new here, you can subscribe. You can hit the like button. That's pretty cool too. I'm pretty sure that does something important. Again, this channel that I'm trying to build is hopefully a haven for film discussion and you know, just shooting the shit, talking about film. If you are into that, then you have found the right place. Welcome home. Without further ado, I will see you very soon. I got a couple videos coming out soon. Dune Part 2 discussion. Picks for next month. Maybe 1 or 2 reviews in the midst. Criterion sale coming up. A lot of good stuff coming down the wire. Stay tuned into the channel, and I'll see you later.